Thanks for joining us today at Unstuck Your Business Podcast.
You went into business with excitement and passion to show the world what you can do to contribute into our society and into our economic ecosystem.
But a couple of years into the business, and your drive and motivation has dwindled, and now you feel stuck.
When you find yourself at this crossroads of thoughts and emotions, how do you deal with it?
We are your hosts, Inez Nazario Vega from Business Essentials Virtual Assistant
and Edith Duran from Reason Marketing.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Unstuck Your Business. Are you a small business owner feeling stuck in the mud, struggling to find ways to streamline your processes and free up your time? Well, today's show is for you because today we've got the perfect guest to help you get unstuck and take your business to the next level.
Joining us today is Business Development Manny de la Vega. Manny, welcome to the show. It's fantastic to have you here. I know your expertise in business development consulting is going to be a huge asset to our audience of entrepreneurs. Let's dive right in and talk about how to break free from those frustrating bottlenecks and find that hidden efficiency in your business. But first, tell us a little bit more about yourself and the business you have.
Hello. Thank you for having me in your podcast. It's great. My name is Manny de la Vega. I am a business owner. I co-own a restaurant, a catering company with my sister. We had it for 20 years. This is actually going to be our 20th year. And so I enjoy running.
20 years.
Yeah, 20 years. So we've been through pandemics, economic downturns, and the whole thing. So I'm passionate about systems, operations in the workplace, in the business specifically, and I'm also passionate about coaching. I've been coaching for about 14 years. I started as a volunteer in a nonprofit organization, and now I have my own business as well, De La Vega Business Advisors, where I help entrepreneurs, solve the problems and streamline their operations and improve their company culture. So.
Wow. And Manny, I just have to add and just let the audience know that I know that this is something you are very passionate about and you are a natural at. And in case you didn't know, I met Manny about 10 or more years ago. And Manny is the reason that I have Reason Marketing. He put the seed in my head that said, you should think about starting your own business because you're really good at this. And just a few months after that, I thought about it and I put in my notice at my corporate job. And here I am. So thank you.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I'm glad you shared that because I wasn't even aware of that until you mentioned it a month earlier, I think. But that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, Manny, you have been very impactful in our community, and I have to second what Edith just said because I've met you, and I don't know if you recall this, when the Hispanic Chamber was launched back 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And you were one of the first people, you and Pablo were one of the first people in the business community that I met when I moved to Florida. Awesome. And I've always have looked up to you. You have been very inspiring with your business, with the way you move around the business community and help the business community. So I'm very, very excited to have you as a guest.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Sure. Wow, we're done. We can be done now.
So let's get started, Manny, because this is going to be a very interesting topic. And I want the audience to take as much as they can from this conversation. So, Manny, what are some common signs a business owner might be experiencing that indicates that they need to streamline their processes?
Yeah, well, the easiest one to spot is frustration, because, no entrepreneur ever says, I want to open a business so I can streamline my operations and implement processes and procedures. Nobody ever says that. They want to open a business because they want to provide the service, they want to provide great food, they want to serve their community, help their employees. But nobody ever says, I want to streamline, my operation. So it's not a natural thing to do. So when they realize that's a very important part of running a business, it's sometimes unfortunately too late, and I'm guilty of this too. For me, when I started my business, I thought I could run my business and figure it out myself. And then I said, oops, no, I need some help, and I need to figure out how to implement these processes and procedures. So a lot of people think running a business is common sense, but it's really not. You really need to understand how running a business efficiently it's supposed to be. And thank God, there's people that have been doing it for a long time, so we can just get their expertise and apply it to our own business, which is exactly what I did.
Mm, interesting, interesting. And people learn from life experiences, I think, including business owners. And can you walk us through a real life experience that probably you yourself went through, or of how implementing specific process helped a small business?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, right now as a business coach, I work with a framework that is called System and Soul. And the system part is the one that helps with the process and procedures. The soul part is the one that helps with employees and company cultures. And the reason that's a very good fit for me is because I found that the biggest problems entrepreneurs face is either with people, they have to do with people, hiring, firing, or they have to do with inefficiencies, lack of systems. So one of the biggest ones that I've seen is they don't have a good process of hiring people. And that's how they end up with the wrong employees, and they end up with toxic company cultures. And they just think it's a matter of having an interview, and then, well, whatever I get in the interview, then I'll decide and I'll tell them yes. That's not a very good process to hire. But also, rarely ever I see a good process to fire people. Most entrepreneurs, they want to avoid firing people. They don't want to confront. It's just they avoid it at all costs. And I've done it. I mean, it's really hard unless you design a process for firing. I always tell the story when I started, my hiring was horrible. I had one of my line cooks at the time got arrested. Like police came to my place of business and they arrested the guy, put handcuffs, and took him out of the dining room in front of my customers, and all that. That was really painful. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get better at my hiring. So then I started implementing process and procedures, which now I have a thriving culture, right? But also the firing. It was very hard to fire people. You don't want to hurt them. You don't want, but you need to understand that firing is actually, you can serve the person because everybody deserves a shot at working for the company that best fits them. And if you don't fire people, you are actually avoiding or putting an obstacle into those people to go and work somewhere else that may be a best fit, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's not fair for them and it's not fair for you. And once you understand that and put a good firing process in place, it's really easy to fire. Right now, I'm not going to say I enjoy it because firing people is never enjoyable. But most of the time when I fire people now, I mean, we kind of, do a handshake or a hug because we understand that is the best thing for both of us. That's what a good process would do. So it relieves a lot of the pressure of having to fire and hire people. And that's the one that I've seen that, creates the most impact in real life for businesses.
And I think you hit the nail in the head about that. Growing into the business world and mostly into the corporate world back in the days, I had this mentor of mine. His name is Doc Carnes. Doc, I don't know if you have listening to me, but it was years ago, and he always said something that stuck with me. It's like, Inez, take your time to hire, don't waste time to fire.
Absolutely.
And I took it to heart. It's like, he's so right. Take the time, take, as many interviews you needed, dig into whomever you want to bring into your culture, into your company. But don't waste time to fire because those bad apples can really destroy your business if you don't take care of it, quickly. So I can totally relate to what you're saying. But I do have, I'm very curious. You're in a very challenging industry when it comes to retention. The restaurant industry, the food and beverages industry is very well known for having a hard time retaining employees. So How do you manage that? If you can give us specifics on how you manage that, I think the audience can benefit from it.
Absolutely. You have to, what we call, engineer your company culture. You have to really think about the things that make your culture, and that start by knowing who you truly are as a business. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
businesses, they don't even do that work. They don't even know who they are, and they don't create their values, or their values that they just put on a website or on a piece of paper, and they don't actually live them.
Mm-hmm.
So the process for me was to create my values, then to create processes and procedures around that value so I can attract people that fit those values. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how you create great company culture. There was a year, and this was before the pandemic, that I did not hire and fire anybody throughout the whole year. And which is really weird in the restaurant, right? And
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it has
yeah.
only happened one year, and we grew our sales 10%.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that means that we had a very tight culture. Everybody was happy where they were. Everybody was growing, and we were growing as a team. So that's just very hard to do, but it can be done. And right now, I think the industry standard is like a very high turnover rate. I don't know. I think it's in the 70%. I mean, I have less than, I'm going to say probably around 5% turnover rate. I have employees that have been with
Wow,
us.
that's very unheard of in your industry.
Very unheard of. I have a lot of employees. The majority of my employees have been with us more than 2 years, with a lot of them 15, 16 years, because we've been at it for 20 years. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just the kind of trust and culture that you create. So, yeah. And that is not by accident. A lot of people think, oh, that you got lucky, you got really good employees. It's not luck, it's engineering your company culture so
Yeah, it
you
was
make
by
it happen.
design. Mm-hmm.
It is by
Hmm.
design. Absolutely.
And a theme that I keep hearing, because in our last episode we interviewed Justin Munizzi, and the topic was on partnerships, it's hard to talk about partnerships and not make the analogy of being in a marriage or relationship,
Or a
because
family.
that much, right? It takes that much communication. And now in talking to you here, Manny, it's like, the culture is made by, all the employees and the values. It's like a family, it really is. And then when you think about all the time that you are spending with your coworkers, and how much you rely on them to fulfill their duties, because there's a domino effect, like you said, if there is toxicity in the culture. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a motivation to recognize that as a business owner and try to act quickly. So I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because as you said, your system and souls, and it doesn't work. One doesn't work with the other.
Without the other. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. You
Absolutely.
have
They
to you
correlate.
have to nurture the family to
Yeah.
have a good family.
Well, here's the thing. I don't like to say that we're a family, and I tell my employees this because we're
Uh-huh.
not. We're not really a family, because if you think about it, in your family, you can never get kicked out of your own family. It doesn't matter.
That's
It
true.
doesn't matter if you don't get along with them. It doesn't matter if you don't like them. You don't like if there's toxicity in your family. Your family is always going to be your family. At
Mhm.
your business, that is not the case. We're family as long as we all fit. And if you don't fit, you will get kicked out,
Mhm.
Mm,
because that's how we create the company cultures. If we keep like a family, the toxicity and the people forever, then the culture will never be a great culture.
mm,
Mhm.
So we like each other like a family, but we do not operate like a real family.
Mhm.
mm. That's an
That's an
interesting
important
point.
distinction too, because you're right. In a family, you do tolerate a lot
You
more of one
have to. You have
another's.
no
Yeah.
choice. You have to tolerate it. Not in the place of business. You don't have to tolerate, as a business owner. You don't have to tolerate bad behavior, bad work ethic,
Mhm.
low performance. You have the option to not tolerate that. So, and you're given the
Hmm.
option for them to go and thrive somewhere else if they don't thrive at your business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Families don't do that. They don't say, okay, go to a different family and then you'll be a better brother and a better sister, right?
Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, Manny, going back to the topic of streamlining processes and making businesses more efficient, um, for a small business owner feeling overwhelmed, where should they begin with process improvement? And are there any quick wins that you can suggest? Because I think we get so involved in our business that we forget because we're so in the middle of the frustration of the overwhelmness, we lack that space to think in terms of streamlining or efficiency.
Absolutely. Yeah, it all starts with having self-awareness, which is hard because like you said, you're so caught up in the daily grind that you don't know what you don't know. In our
Mm-hmm.
case, when it was the 2008 economy, we were about to lose the business, just like a lot of businesses around. And at that time, I don't know if you remember, we had the Stetson University marketing department come to a business and they said, hey, we want the graduate program to work on your business for exchange of a grade. It's not going to cost you anything. We just want to try to help you, run your business. I was so desperate that I was like, yeah, I'll take the help, but I was very skeptical, what are these students going to help me do, whatever. I needed help because we were about to lose the business. Turns out that was the best thing I ever did, at the end of the semester, after they worked on my business for 6 months, they sat me down in a conference room, about 20 of them, and they say, Manny, there's a lot of things that you're doing right, but there's a lot of things that you're doing wrong. And then they start shooting for about an hour and a half. I had all kinds of emotions, hurt, disillusion, excitement, but I knew the truth. I didn't see the things that they told me because I was in the daily grind. But once I got a different perspective, I saw what I needed to do. 3 weeks later, literally, we revamped, we rebranded, and then we grew our revenue 300% after that. So
Wow.
that's the biggest mistake that business owners do. They don't get help to get that self-awareness because it's very hard
Mm-hmm.
to have that self-awareness by yourself. So either you need a coach, you need a graduate program, you need another business owner that can see what you don't see. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
that you start determining what the things that you need to start changing and to start improving. If that
Yeah.
makes
And
sense.
that's one of the reasons why I got into the virtual assistant business because that's a passion of mine. You've known me for 14 years. Is to help small business owner. It's in my DNA. I just
Hmm.
cannot do it. And the reason I got into that business is because I want to take away what's really overwhelming them that have really no it's no return on investment and getting so involved in your a day-to-day administrative work or customer support or whatever, the marketing support. Take a little bit of that away so you can have time to think strategically about your business.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And I so appreciate what you just shared about that and letting students, which is a great way, letting interns that are hungry to help you,
Yeah.
and
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 now
it was cost effective to you too.
yeah, that impacted my whole life because that's what, just like Edith said, there was an event that kind of got her into doing her business. That was the event for me that got me starting to being a coach because I said, if they were able to add so much value by just looking from the outside perspective, I can do that too to businesses. And that's what launched my career as a coach 14 years ago. And now that I have my own practice, I know that it's so valuable that we offer a 90-minute, we call it the Focus Canvas workshop, where we go in there with the business owner and the team and the executive team or whatever team is running the business, and we create that clarity and that perspective of what are the things that they're doing right and what are the things that they're doing wrong. And they don't even have to hire us at that point. But just by creating that clarity, it will give them places where to start to make improvements. Or if they want to do it faster and better without making the mistakes that we all did in the beginning, they can hire us
Mhm.
as coaches and then we walk them through faster and more efficiently towards that. So,
I think that's
but
So,
amazing that you're offering this complimentary,
mm,
assessment um,
yes,
experience to the business owner because I think that's where we lack the tools to okay, let's sit down and assess
mhm,
what's going
exactly.
on
Yeah, they don't
yeah.
have
and
time
then
to
take
do
it from
that,
there.
and they don't see the value of that. So we sit down in a room, in a conference room, and we have the workshop designed to everything to come out. What's working, what doesn't, in 90 minutes and less, and they walk out with actionable items to do after that. And most of it, what I've seen is they come out with so much clarity. They're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know this," or "I knew it, but hearing it from my team has given me a different perspective, and now they make it a priority.
Hmm. Hmm.
Manny, I'm curious to know how like at what stage of the business should someone start asking those questions? Is it like the first year, the fifth year, any stage of the business? Because, as you know, running a business has so many different levels, and what it does to a person as far as the growth development. Sometimes you're not ready to hear what you have to say. So what's the
Absolutely.
best time to ask these questions?
Absolutely. Let me give you an analogy. When you realize nobody ever says, I'm going to get into shape and I'm going to hire a coach to get into shape. Everybody starts with, everybody knows that getting into shape is what you need to do because it's good for your body and it's good for your health.
Mhm.
But most people do it when they look at the mirror and now they have 10 pounds extra and they don't like what they see in the mirror. And then at that point, they go and say, well, I'm going to start running. And then they go run and they go very hard at it for like 3 weeks and then they quit. And then they try it again. And at some point, they're so frustrated that now they start thinking, okay, maybe I join a gym or I hire a coach and then I do it the right way. All right. So that's human nature. We don't do it the right way from the get-go. We have to get to a point that we failed, that we tried it and didn't work. And then again, when we're frustrated, that's when we start looking at doing it the right way. But to
Mhm.
answer your question, the right way would be if I want to get into shape before I'm 10 pounds over, I'm going to hire a coach or I'm going to figure out the way how to do it correctly. I'm going to figure out my meal plan. I'm going to figure out I'm going to get my mindset correct. So when I start working out, I do it correctly.
Mhm.
That would be, so it would, the best way to do it, to answer your question, would be in the beginning before you actually open your business.
Right.
But that ever, like almost never happens,
The
Mhm.
roadmap
because
is not
we're
there. It's
humans
just,
and we
yeah.
want to try it ourselves. So
Mhm.
I always say that solopreneurs are the ones that need this type of help the most, but are the ones that is the hardest to give it to because they
Mhm.
haven't tried enough and they haven't failed enough. So they're not open or receptive to get the help yet. They need to
Mhm.
fail and struggle until they get to a point that, okay, I cannot do this by myself, then I need some help. And unfortunately, that takes some time and they lose money, they lose, relationships, they do all that because they're trying to do it by themselves. Hey, I was the same guy. I mean, I did
Mhm.
that. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. I exactly did that, and that's why I'm passionate. I don't want people to do it like what I did.
Mhm.
But not everyone is ready to listen to that, as we
Mhm.
know.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's a
No,
very good analogy, by the way. That's a very
yes,
good
perfect
way of putting
analogy.
it that anyone listening can understand the need to be more aware of in creating that roadmap in a way that is efficient so the business doesn't crash against the wall down the road.
Yeah,
So,
awesome.
And Manny, we can't get away from technology these days. You have to implement technology in just about everything you're doing, especially in business and and automation. Is there some type of technology that you recommend businesses start to look at, right away that might improve efficiencies?
Well, this is true what I have learned. I'm a tech guy. I love technology, but I
Mhm.
realized very early that technology is a double-edged sword
Mhm.
mm,
because it only amplifies what you already are. So if you're an efficient business, when you get technology, you become more efficient. If your
Mhm.
operations are messy and then you get technology, you become messier
mm,
because it's not the tool that you use, is the process and the mindset that you have is what allows you to use technology. So there's nothing worse than technology that it cannot be used and cannot be understood, right?
Mhm.
So, businesses even before we had really good technology, if you talk about, the 1920s, there's businesses that have been running really effectively. You talk about McDonald's, when McDonald's started creating all these processes and procedures, they didn't have the technology we have now, and McDonald's
mhm,
became the standard for efficiency, right? So
Mhm.
in order to become a successful, efficient business, you don't really need technology. But once you have the mindset, once you have the organization, which it could start in a pen and paper and checklists and spreadsheets or whatever. Then you can move on into using AI. You can move into the CRMs. You can move all the wonderful things that we have available for a very low cost. That is going to make you way better, but you got to have the foundation first. Otherwise, it just you become more frustrated because now you have messiness and now you have technology that you don't understand. Then you
Mm-hmm.
want to quit. You want to quit even more.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right, Manny, because I have consulted with prospective clients that actually don't have good processes in place. And one of the services that I offer alongside with my virtual assistant services is the chatbot that many websites are now using because we know that people are not picking up the phone anymore as they used to. They don't go to Google and go to the website and try to get the answers. And I do have an assessment tool now also for my prospective clients, and one of the things that I find is like, yeah, they want the chatbot technology, but they don't even understand the content that they need to put on that chatbot to be efficient to answer the questions to prospective clients or clients through this technology. So
Absolutely.
I had to like take them back. Oh, it's like, wait a second. What's the procedure? Do you have the content, the readily available content to really answer those questions with the technology? And the
Absolutely.
answer was no. So it's like
Yeah.
have to scale back, peel back put back the layer of the onion, and let's go back to the beginning and take it from there before
Yeah,
we add any
absolutely.
technology to the service.
I've seen so many businesses, they think technology is what's gonna save them from
Mm-hmm.
the frustration and all that. And technology doesn't do that, by itself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Definitely you have to do it yourself in the foundation, like I said, and then technology will get
Mm-hmm.
you way farther. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have one more question because one of the things that limits or uh, business owners don't seek the help is because the cost associated with getting the help, getting a coach, getting a consultant. Are there any low cost or free ways a small business owner can start implementing processes to improve their efficiency?
You mean, is the question more, is there a low cost way that they can get coaching or the low cost way they can get the process
I
and
guess
procedures or both?
and you did hit one because I think that the 90 minutes focus group is one way of getting a low cost assessment tool ready
Correct.
to roll. But is there anything else that a business owner can inquire or look for to start the process of like, okay, I need help. Where can I
Yeah.
get it? How can I go about it?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't want to get the whole team involved, we offer a free assessment on my website. It's a diagnosis that will give them a perspective of where they are in their business. But I mean, more everything is low cost nowadays. When it comes to finding free coaching, free technology, it's either low cost or free. The problem is, how do I change my mindset? And do I have the right person that is going to help me propel? It's going to understand what my strengths and weaknesses are, and
Mhm.
it's going to help me actually implement what I need. It's going to customize it to my needs. That's a challenge because, there's so much information out there and it's free and it's great. But how do you make that decision of what works for you? One of the biggest complaints we have when we go to seminars, and this probably has happened to you, we go to great seminars, sometimes they last a day, 2 days, 3 days, and we learn tons. And then we go back to our businesses and, oh, but what do I do with all that great information that I learned? How do I apply it? And
Information
now,
overload, I call it.
yeah, and then people don't know how to implement that. So what I love about System Unsold is not only theory, is not only free assessments, is actionable items that tells you this is the tool that you need to implement that, and here are the results that you're gonna see, and we walk you through that to see those results. So, uh,
And
other that if
okay.
it was just information, we would be educators, not coaches, right? We would be teachers and educators, which is plenty of that in the business world. You can get books, you can get, teachers, you can get mentors that kind of teach,
Mhm.
but coaches like me, like we want you to apply this and have results.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm rereading the book Think and Grow Rich because it's going to be the foundation of the mastermind group that we're going to be starting here soon. In something that is in that book that says knowledge is not power, it's actionable knowledge has the potential for power. It's
Absolutely.
a difference because we always say knowledge is power, knowledge is power. It's not. You can find professors at really high college levels. They have all the knowledge in the world, but they have not made a single impact in the world other than just teaching herds of students on the
Yeah.
knowledge part. But the knowledge is power when it's actionable knowledge.
You're right. Having ideas is free. You can have all the great ideas you want, but which one of those ideas you're able to implement? That's where the real goal is. And the
Mm-hmm.
implementation of the ideas is when things really start taking place, right?
Absolutely.
One thing that I see a lot and just in this conversation, it brings to mind, one of the services that I offer is implementing a CRM system. And as you know, Manny, a CRM system can be very helpful, but also, like you said, it can be very messy. And when you really step back on choosing a system like a CRM, customer relationship management, you really have to think about why do you want this system? What are all those steps? From inquiry to follow up to, another touch to like, you really have to think about what exactly is your process because so many people get into their own like routine and they've always done it this way and it lives in their head. They don't know how to write down those steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, to be able to automate it so that it's efficient. And then a lot of times you tell someone else to help you, they're reinventing the wheel to do the same thing. And so now, so there's a big a disconnect. And then when you put in this process, it's like, nobody likes it because now it's a change. It's uncomfortable. It's
Absolutely.
so, and I think when it comes to really deciding on what the process is that you need, just like you're talking about, it also comes down to pay attention to your already existing process before you start to, decide, okay, I need this tool, I need that tool, I need that tool,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
help identify.
If you cannot handle 5 prospects with pen and paper and a phone, you don't need a CRM. You need to work on being able to follow up with those prospects, provide great communication, understanding what the systems is so these prospects can become clients. If you haven't gone to that process with pen and paper and a regular phone, you don't need a CRM yet. You need to work on that first, and then the CRM will be useful.
Yes. Well, this has been like such an interesting conversation, and of course, so many nuggets here to take away because Manny, you are amazing, and for the benefit of our audience, we always like to leave our audience with the 3 main takeaway from the topic that we have discussed. So, in your opinion, Manny, what would be the 3 main takeaways from our topic today?
Yeah, the 3 takeaways that I think it's very valuable, and it was valuable for me, is to understand. I've been around a lot of successful entrepreneurs throughout all my travels doing coaching in the US, Central America, everywhere. And I have met amazing entrepreneurs that are natural at it. And it always fascinates me, what makes them really, really good. And I realized that they do have 3 things in common. The great entrepreneurs they rely, first of all, on a peer group. They do have peer groups that elevates them, support them, and propels them to do better. The second one, they all understand the value of coaching. They do have a coach, a mentor, or somebody, and a lot of times it's their own wives. The wives are the source of wisdom, and they do involve them, they do listen to them, and they do, make them participant in the business. And the third one is they do follow a framework. And it could be a business framework, but let's go back to the analogy of getting into shape. Those 3 things is what you need to be successful at getting into shape and losing pounds. And you have done it for whatever your passion is you need a peer group, you need to join a gym where you go with people that are trying to get to the same goal. You have a coach, which is your gym coach or your CrossFit instructor or whatever it is. And then they give you the framework. They tell you, okay, do these many repetitions and do these 3 times a week, and you follow that framework. What happens in business is that too many entrepreneurs don't have a peer group, they don't have a coach, and then they're trying to figure out their own framework, how to run the business by themselves. It just doesn't work that way. And some people are able to do it, but they go through a lot of pain, they lose a lot of money. Most people, they never get to that point because the business doesn't wait for you to get good at those things. You know, if you don't have enough clients, you don't have enough customers. That's why the stats of businesses closing is so high, because business owners don't get to do those things from the get-go. And, you know, if there is no financials, there is no revenue, then you have to close. So you kind of have to do that from the start if you want to be successful at business, at losing weight, or whatever it is that you want to do.
That's very well said. Very, very,
Yes.
very well said.
Amazing takeaways. Thank you so much, Manny. You're so full of just great insight. More, you know, above everything, but you have very, very many gifts anyway. That I think it's going to be a great episode.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna with all this praise, I'm gonna have to want to come and do it again next week.
Sure.
Get my motivation up. You guys are great at that.
That's awesome. So Manny, again, for the benefit of our audience, where can they connect and find you?
Yeah, so my personal website is delavega.io. You'll find about my passion and information about the businesses I have right now and my coaching. That's where I put most of that information. And of course, my LinkedIn profile, Manny De La Vega, you can just find me there. And that's a quick way to connect directly. But between those two, you can find anything about me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for being our guest today. Really appreciate you and all that you're doing for our business community. And we look forward to perhaps a second episode of something similar to this that will help our small business community for sure. So thank you so much, Manny.
No, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the great work you're doing for the business community through these podcasts. So it's great. Awesome.
Thank you, Manny. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, we want to thank you. Let us know what you think about today's topic by leaving us a comment and a review of our podcast.
And if you found some value on the information shared in this podcast, please subscribe and share. And you can find us on our Facebook page, Unstuck Your Business, and join the conversation and engage with other entrepreneurs as together we help each other unstuck our business. Until next time.